This is DIY Hi-Fi Life. Chris Barker with you again with a DIY Minute. This is a short DIY project to allow you to upgrade your REL subwoofer cord very easily with a technique I've figured out. In this video, I want to do a quick DIY Minute upgrade for the REL supplied cable, as I've seen here. This cable certainly gets the job done, and it's nice of REL to supply it, but it's a little bit more cable than I need, and I find the extra cabling a little bit messy and would prefer to have a little neater solution. I did a little searching on the internet, found a solution that I think works very well, and it's something you could do very easily yourself. I purchased a length of pre-built cabling with speak-on connectors already built in, and you can buy them in various lengths. This is about a 6-foot length, I think, and that's about the most that I think I really need for my particular setup. It also comes with a little higher gauge cable, and that may or may not be relevant. I do know that REL sells an upgraded cable that starts at around $300 or $400. I'm sure it's worth every penny of that, but this one I have here is about 20 bucks, and I think it gets the job done very nicely and allows you to customize the length to your situation. So what's involved here is if you remove the speak-on connector, this is the end, the business end, so to speak. I guess you would call this the male end that goes into the REL subwoofer. If you simply unscrew that, you are left with this item here. 2 wires, white and red. It's a little hard to see, but if you look vertically down to the barrel, you'll see that the red, which has this longer connection as opposed to the shorter connection, is the +1 connection. And then it's wired here in this case, not for a REL subwoofer per se. The negative is white. So what you can do is simply unsolder the white connection, move it over just once to the open +2 connection as it's labeled, and resolder to this junction. And then you would cut off this end to expose the bare wires, and you have we'll have a cable with 2+ connections that you can use for your REL subwoofer hookup. Very easy. Only thing you need to be careful about is this plastic can melt very easily, so you want to make sure when you're setting this up to solder that you keep your solder iron well away from the plastic bits so you don't inadvertently melt anything there. It's not, if you would get a little bit of a singe on some of them, it's not the end of the world, but just for be careful in that regard. Now, once you've done that, you've basically put it back together with the connector, and then you can hook it up to your REL subwoofer, and the 2 bare ends here you'll be able to hook onto your existing amplifier, the 2+ terminals on your stereo speaker amplifier. And I've been running this way for quite a while, and it's worked beautifully, and I have no hum issues whatsoever. I would, at this point, even if you don't know if you have a Class D amplifier or an AB amplifier or some variation, I think this is the way to go for a REL hookup, and REL pretty much recommends this approach as well. And only if you have a hum problem, you have an alternative approach, which means using a RCA cable interconnect that you can attach to, for instance, the LFE input on the REL subwoofer, and make that attachment to an unused port on your preamplifier, etc. And it's not really carrying the signal. You're just interested in getting the ground connection, the outer ground connection between the 2 devices if it's necessary. I would start off with what I'm proposing here, just not use any ground connection whatsoever, and see if everything is good to go. So, pretty simple. but it does give you a little flexibility in wiring, and you might find this useful in your setup. If you don't really like the looks of all this wire, you can get this one wire and be a happy camper. So here's a close-up of the area that you'll be working with, and basically you can see the white wire on the right, which will be moving over to the +2 connection on the left that you see there. Pretty simple. Now the tricky thing is getting the solder off the white wire and getting that cleaned up so there's no stray wires that would short out, and then do a little bit of tinning of the end to make the new solder connection easier. And it's good to have a little helping hands there, and then adding some new solder to the new connection, and then moving to the new connection there, the 2+ connector, and again adding a little bit more solder there, and making sure not to melt the surrounding plastic. That's the key, which is fairly tight quarters, but with a little carefulness you can avoid too much damage. And then adding a little bit more solder for good measure to make sure that's got a good connection. And then it's just a matter of reassembling the connector and getting it nice and screwed on and tight. And then cutting off the other end of the cable to expose the two leads, which are both positive in this case. And then stripping the ends and then applying some solder to tin those leads, again to prevent any stray cables or wire. And there we are, the finished product, ready to go. So that's it. A little DIY minute for you from DIY HiFi Life. Chris Barker with you again. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate the like and subscribe. Chris Barker, signing out.